It's 15:06 GMT. This is Hassan Aruni with Focus on Africa from the BBC World Service. Coming up, a proposed date for Ethiopia's general elections, but not everyone is happy. And reflections 50 years after the end of the Nigerian Civil War. But first, a development in Liberia that has spilled over into neighboring Sierra Leone. The political activist Henry Costa, who's been asking tough questions of President George Weah, has been detained in Freetown. He was arrested when he tried to board a plane there to fly to America. Mr. Costa has been behind a series of public protests in Monrovia, in which he's demanded that the Liberian president should answer to charges of high-level corruption. His associates say they fear that this is an attempt to illegally return him to Liberia. Well, a group of lawyers in Sierra Leone have taken up his case. I spoke with one of them, Abdul Koroma.
There is an allegation that he has committed fraudulent activities, that he forged his emergency travel certificate from Accra to Monrovia. And therefore, he should not leave. He has some questions to answer in Monrovia. That is the only reason they gave.
Mr. Costa is a Liberian citizen, and one would wonder why he would need and why he would have to falsify any document to go to his own country of origin.
That is the argument we have. According to Mr. Costa's brother, he said Mr. Costa had already sent his passport for Schengen visa. And therefore, because he's an ECOWAS citizen, he's allowed to travel with an emergency certificate. The allegation is that he forged those documents. So, the Sierra Leonean government.
Have you challenged the Sierra Leonean government on the grounds that they are using for detaining Mr. Costa?
Yes, I have challenged them on the grounds that the detention itself is controversial and it's illegal. And then, in fact, they should not attempt to return him back to Monrovia because, according to Mr. Costa, his life will be in imminent danger. I have also spoken with the authorities and told them our obligation under international law, especially the respect of the principle of non-refoulement, that we should not send someone to a country where he thinks his life will be in imminent danger.
And what response have you had from the government of Sierra Leone?
Well, the response has been very positive. I mean, they said, no, at this moment, they are going to assess his case. They are not going to return him to Liberia immediately because there are some other issues that have emerged, those issues were not disclosed. So we are in constant communication with them. However, I've not been able to communicate with my client, but I've been able to speak with the brother because his phone was off because he posted on Facebook that he has been treated nicely. Since then, we've not been able to talk to him.
Do you know where Henry Costa is being held in Freetown and by who?
No, we don't know. The only information we have is that he was arrested at Lunge International Airport by the immigration authorities. And we do not know where he is at the moment.
Earlier, the information coming out was that he could be extradited to Liberia. Does Sierra Leone have an extradition treaty with Liberia at all?
Well, they have some international agreement, the Mano River Agreement. I've not been able to find out whether they have an extradition treaty. But however, we have an extradition law in Sierra Leone which requires the consent of the Attorney General. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as my knowledge goes, that has not been sought.
And legally, could people like yourself get the courts to tell the government of Sierra Leone to release Henry Costa?
Yeah, of course, that is the next step we will take. If they do not release him immediately, because he has a right to seek legal redress, and there is a provision under our laws that as at this time his life will be in imminent danger should they extradite him back to Monrovia. That is the next step we're contemplating.
Have you tried to speak to Mr. Henry Costa or to see him, and what has been the response of the government of Sierra Leone?
Right now, they said that they have the obligation to keep him safe, and therefore we should wait he is safe, that nothing will happen to him. I had my colleague traveled to Lunge to see him, but unfortunately, because I'm in Freetown, we were told that he was on his way to Freetown. So we are waiting for him in Freetown as we speak. We're expecting him any moment from now. So the next thing, I don't know whether they will give me the opportunity to see him, but I'm hopeful that if he comes to Freetown, definitely we'll try to speak with him.
The case of the Liberian political activist Henry Costa, and that was the Sierra Leonean lawyer acting on his behalf, Abdul Koroma, speaking to me from Freetown. And just before we came on air, I asked Sierra Leone's Information Minister, Mohamed Soare, to explain what's going on.
Been taken to police custody for questioning. The immigration department here had a call from their counterpart in Liberia, so the police needed to cross-check a few things. But one thing is clear, Henry is in open detention. He is enjoying the full gamut of his human rights. We are a sovereign democracy. We don't take instructions from other people. I'd like to assure that Henry's human rights and basic freedoms will be respected. In fact, he's just posted something on Facebook that he's been very well treated. He's not been coerced. He's very well respected, even his confinement. So as a government, we are doing everything humanly possible to ensure that we don't fiddle with his basic rights and fundamental freedoms.
His supporters are accusing the Sierra Leone government of actually working in cahoots with the Liberian government in detaining him. Do you deny that?
No, we definitely do. We just want to ensure that we fulfill our righteousness. He himself can attest to that. He's been very well treated with dignity and all his rights respected. We cannot take dictation from any other government. We are a democracy. We value that. Our people have struggled for far too long for democracy, and this government is reputed for its very strong democratic credentials. So we will not do anything untoward. As soon as we are gone through the processes, we'll do the needful.
Now, this is a man who has organized a series of demonstrations and protests in Liberia, demanding accountability, good governance, demanding that President George Weah answer to accusations of corruption. The Sierra Leone government is a government that says it stands by those principles of democracy, as you are saying here, that you are a government that campaigns against corruption. But to people in Liberia who may be supporting Henry Costa, when you now hold him close to 24 hours when he was trying to just use Sierra Leone's airport to fly away, it sounds as if you are going against all those principles.
We remain very strong on those principles. In fact, those are the hallmarks of our administration, democratic accountability. I will only say to those Liberians thinking that way to continue to be glued to the radio. We are doing what we need to do now, and pretty soon we will do the needful without jeopardizing and compromising our sterling credentials as a democratic, freedom-loving, and accountable administration.
But do you agree that it looks very suspicious that the Liberian government will ask you to detain this man when it's not even a secret that he has been a very open opponent of President George Weah?
Well, so that's why I'm saying we are a sovereign democracy. At the appropriate time, we'll do what is right by our constitution, what the values that Sierra Leone and this administration represents. We will not keep Mr. Costa any longer than necessary in detention. We will make sure that happens.
And how long is that?
That will be pretty soon. Pretty soon.
That was the Minister of Information of Sierra Leone, Mohamed Soare.